Roland? Fabien? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Fabien, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good. Hey. Hey, Fabien, you put your mute by mistake. It should be a little, oh, there you go.
Good, you can hear?
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay.
So as is normal, we've got people that are going to join us, but I don't think have yet. So why don't we give it a sec? I'm going to make sure the recording works, which it does. Cool. So if you like, why don't we just hold on for a sec. I'm going to pass the, yeah, Fabien, I'm going to pass the presenter over to you, though.
Okay.
I hope it works. You're on mobile right now, right?
Yep.
Okay. Did you have slides you wanted to go?
The presenter.
Yes.
So let me try.
There you go.
You can see me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Do you need to go through slides, or how do you want to?
So what I had in mind is like just the first 2-3 minutes, just say who I am and what's the point.
Yep.
And after that, do something like this. Well, just like share my screen and give the address on if there is a chat, so that people can see, okay, either my face or the screen, but they can see directly the result on their computer or on their phone, whatever they have. So they can see the code and they can see the content.
Cool. Well, why don't we give it another, I think it's 7:35 now. We've got 3 folks, actually Database says 2 people on. So we'll give it a little bit longer. Where are you now?
I run back. I'm in Hawaii, in Waikaola, and I just finished a dive. Like I arrived 1 minute ago. I didn't have time to eat or change myself yet. So you have the salty version of my person.
I would feel bad for you if you're in Hawaii and you just dove. So I don't feel bad.
Don't. I'll survive.
It's a tough life.
But I should be on diet.
Yeah.
It went really well. We had so I'm a little bit deaf because I had to go a little bit faster than I would have liked, but it still went well. And we saw some whales, some dolphins, some manta ray, and a bunch of fishes. So went way better than expected.
That's fantastic.
And I really had no. The problem why did I go today is because I was supposed to do yesterday, but then the United flight got delayed, and then the next one got cancelled, and blah, blah, blah. So instead of doing it yesterday, the only chance I had during the week was to do it today. Else I would not have any chance later during the week.
Yeah.
Because we have lots of events, like from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like it's fully booked. So that's for good reasons to do WebVR.
So wait, you're going from I guess a Monday to a full week of offsite?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. But when you talk next week and kind of give us a rundown, I guess you're going to have to talk fast.
Yeah, I'll have the key points and then some links for the rest. But yeah,
that's great.
I'll probably need more time to kind of ingest the whole content, but at least what the key pointers.
Yeah. So for those of you who are joining us now, I'm just going to give us another minute or two to just let folks kind of join, because we're having people, join one by one. So I think it's at 7:40, which is 3 minutes away. We'll kick it off, and Fabien will explain how he's going to share the code and all the rest of it. So we're just kind of shooting the breeze right now. Fabien, where are you now? That might be kind of a fun thing to talk about, because I'm not sure most people know that.
So I'm at the Hilton Waikoloa in Hawaii, in the Big Island, because what happened is in September, October, I received an email at 2 a.m. Like I couldn't sleep, I went to check my emails, and I received an email from Mozilla saying, hey, you contributed quite a bit and you helped the community and whatnot. Why don't you join us in Hawaii to discuss and make WebVR stuff? And then I checked for like a whole minute, and I'm like, yeah, of course I'm coming. And that's the plan for the week, to discuss WebVR, to make demos, to explore like the state of the art, see what we can do from the whole stack, like from A-Frame, the framework, to Firefox, the browser, to Servo, the research version of the browser, and see how we can bring all that stack together to improve WebVR. So yeah, that's the goal of the week. So I'll probably be super tired at the end of it, but having a great time meeting all the guys working on the core tools, and hopefully, being able to share all that back with you guys.
That's fantastic. Well, we're basically there, and I think you kind of did the intro anyway. So, guys, we're recording all this as well, and I'll probably cut it off and start it here. But thank you, everybody that's joined us. Well, as per usual, I know at least 2 or 3 people will probably join us midstream. So why don't we get started? I think we didn't really specify what this is about, except it's obviously about WebVR and A-Frame, but I think other things as well. So, Fabien, you just roll.
So I will connect again to Slack if it lets me. So I'll be able to give you the address of the demo. What I have in mind is okay, like a brief. I don't like to talk so much about abstract things. I really prefer to show, and then that people can explore code directly and play with the content rather than just like listening to me talking about concepts, because I find it too abstract. So I put on the Slack that maybe you can share back to the WebEx chat this address. It's a GSBin. I don't know if you can see it.
I think everybody should be on Slack anyway, but I wasn't actually on. I'll jump on right now.
I'll see also if I can see the chat so that I can see if people comment and have questions or whatnot, because okay. Yes, chat. Okay. So is it possible that can you share the link back on WebEx?
I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah. I just had to dial in. Just give me a sec.
Yeah. Else, if you can type, I can tell you it's gsbean.com/ZEQASAG. Okay.
Roland, it's okay. Roland put it up already. We're good.
Okay, super. Thank you.
So everybody inside the chat, you should now have twice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, I'll still do the quick introduction. So what you can see on Slack. Let's see if that works also. So you can see the code on the left and the contents on the right. Can you confirm that, please? Like what content do you see now?
Hello?
Okay. Yeah, we start with it's going to be a little bit boring for the first 2 minutes because it starts with really nothing. But the idea behind this is that to show all the steps so that nothing is magical. Because one of my motivation for doing so I did quite a bit of WebVR workshops and VR workshops in general. The idea is really to demystify every layer of the stack, from the framework to the browser to, well, not as far as the drivers, but nearly, and then to the hardware, like how to make a little cardboard using a 3D printer, how to do Internet of Things and electronics. So if you want to make, let's say, a low resolution version of a Vive, you can do that. So just to demystify everything. So I'll start very simple. So I remove hello, and then I will include A-frame. So that's the Mozilla library. So on aframe.io, you have like some examples, the documentation and all this. So one of the first link of the documentation is the JavaScript file that you need to include to get the library going. So I'll just take it from the documentation. So that's it. I included the library, so I don't use it yet, but I included it. So what I can do now is, instead of just using my little div, hello div, like typical HTML, and what I will do, that's why you don't see it anymore after, is because it will be just WebVR content. So instead of doing my div, I do a scene, which will be where I'll put all my VR content. So that's why on the right now, you will not be able to see text, but instead you will see some 3D objects. So that's the whole goal of the A-frame library for WebVR, is that there are a bunch, like really a lot of web developers, and a lot of them are pretty good, but have very little to no 3D knowledge. But they have content, and they're able to share it pretty efficiently. So why don't we use some basic primitives, some tools from the web in order to make VR content? So I made my scene. It's empty, so you don't see anything. So I'll start by making a box. If I can type it correctly. And now, do I see a box? I don't. Well, why don't I see a box? Maybe because it's white on white. Let's try. Okay. Then maybe it's because it's too close to me. Voila. So what happens? Do you see the box, the red box? You can just tell me on the chat, or you can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and normally, if you click on the right of the screen, you can move everywhere. So you can move it up and down, left and right, and so that's in the code. You just have text, and on the right you have a 3D object. So now, if you were to pop out the GSBin window. You have like in the top right, you have a live preview button that gives you an address. Maybe I'll give it also on the Slack. Because the idea is that you code with GSBin, you have live reloading, so it means the code on the left and the result on the right are updated constantly. So that's really why I like this environment. It's not just to show you I actually really work with that, because then I can test something, I have an idea, I can like prototype really, really quickly. I don't have like to, I don't know if you've seen there is a really nice presentation from a former Apple employee, Worry Dreams on Twitter, forgot his name in real life. Gosh, I forgot. I'll put the reference eventually after. But his idea is basically he has one objective or one principle in life, which is that if you work on the topic, you need to see the result instantly. So it means not like 1 minute to type check and then 30 seconds to compile and then, I don't know, another 10 seconds to send. It means you type a box, color red, you need to see the box in that color right now, like within a second. Because his principle is that all the time when you actually type and don't see the result, your ideas are dying because you can't test them, you can't explore. So basically like just trying to think what the computer will do rather than just seeing it and working on that. So I think it looks a bit like a toy, or it's just using GSBin, or could use Webpack or any of the other trendy JavaScript tool. But the point is that you have your code and then straight away you get the result. So I'm still loading Slack to share the link. Okay. So just in case if you didn't manage to use the pop-out button, there is the link, which is output.gsbin.com/ZEQASAG. So it's the same content exactly, which also will be live reloaded, that you can put on your phone. So if right now you put this link on your phone, then you will be able to press on the bottom right the WebVR button. So I'll also show you. So, okay, I don't know if you can see the screen so well like that, but anyway, I click on the link. It opens my GSBin preview, loads a little bit. And then once you load it in your phone, you click this little button there of VR, and that's it. You have your first WebVR experience. So you see, I didn't start with anything. It's okay. It's very early. It's not exciting. It's a red cube, but it's the first step. Once you have this, once you have just including the A-frame library, made a scene with a box, then you can build on top of this. And the more, of course, once you have this, it's not even a boilerplate. You saw it like 5 lines. And those 5 lines are enough to do a VR experience. And just to clarify, also I say the phone, but it's just a convenient example. If I had an HTC 5 with me, which I don't when I have to travel like this, but if I had a 5, it would work just as well. If I had a Rift, an Oculus Rift, then same, you load it, and the controllers work. So for example, if you have, you can put a grab object on that box and then move it around and interact with it and all this. Okay. So I'll update it a little bit. So for example, it's a little bit too wide, so I'll make another primitive. So I put a sky with some light blue color. Okay, so that's it. I have my box in my light blue sky. So all those, the box, the sky are primitives, and then the attribute, just like you would do, for example, a div, and then you would assign it a color, or you would assign it a style, or you would assign some content to it. you do the same really in A-frame, which is like I put my sky with an attribute color with a value light blue, and then you have the result there. So one of the principles of A-frame is the entity component system. So a sky is actually an entity. So for example, let's say I'll make another box, make 3 boxes, and I'll put one on the left and one on the right. So you'll see at the beginning it's a little bit, okay, I'll space them a bit. The position in space, you're not really used to it. It's a bit like if you're familiar with the CSS. So I'll put, I'm French. So I'll make something a bit silly. Oh, I can't position correctly. Yeah. Okay. So it will there. So the first one, in the coordinate system, so when you see me changing the position here for each cube, the first -1.5, for example, is the coordinate on the x-axis, so it's left and right. So -1.5 is on the left. And then, okay, so -1.5, 0 is like just in front of you. Okay, got a bit of lag, so if you see me doing typos because of that. And there, and you see also the syntax highlighting in GSBin. So if you do a little typo, you'll see. So that's a kind of French flag. Because I'm missing the cheese and the baguette and the wine in here, but it's okay, I'm not going to complain again. So that's it. And so now what I will do is like I could move elements like this one by one, or like I said, a box, an entity from the entity component. And so I can put a entity, and I wrap it like I would do a div in HTML. So you're like, okay, what's the point of doing this? There is no added value. Then what I can do, I can change the position again. And then instead of putting it at -5, I put it at -10 on the z-axis. So it's x, y, z. X is left and right. Y is, let's say, up and down. And z is forward and backward. So -10 is like a lot further away from me. And 10 is behind me. So you need to be cautious. If you put objects really on your position, so where the camera is, just also for those who just joined, you need to follow the address, and you should see something like this in the end, which is on the left the result, and on the right the code, which is live updated. So yeah, the coordinate system at first, especially if you're not used to 3D, is a bit it's not that intuitive, but then the more you work with it, the easier it gets, to the point that it becomes, okay, I won't say second nature, but it becomes really natural. So I'll bring everything back a bit closer. But yes, you can wrap your set of entities in one entity that has no specific property, and then you can add. So for example, another fun one is to scale. So I can like scale things on the x, y, and z axis also. So for example, that doesn't really look like a flag. It's a little bit squarish. So I can not change the width, but I can change the height, for example. So I'll double it, and then I'll make them a bit thinner. Okay. So now you start to have a little bit. I'll bring them really closer because. Okay. Okay. So you need to also to move around, to move the camera around, else you just see what looks like a flat image. But again, everything is in 3D. So just to prove it, I'll make it a little bit less boring by animating it. So I add an animation. So one trick, it's a silly trick, and probably, well, let's say some of you might get offended, but so my better half is Italian, and so I can make jokes without being too silly about it. And when I speak Italian, I speak with the hand, and I say, I want a pizza, I want, so for A-frame, if you want to remember how to do things, you want an entity, a box, a sky, a scene, and then usually that works. Of course, you better check the documentation just in case, but you can use the fake Italian accent as a reminder. So I add my animation. So the idea of the animation is you basically have a value that will change from 0 to 1, and then instead of saying, I don't know, I change, you change the attribute that will be modified currently. So for example, I can change the position. So the attribute that will change in the animation is the position, and then it starts from where I'm now. So for example, 0, 0, -3, and 2. So I don't know, I'll put it up a bit, and I'll say like this. Okay. So what's happening? Yes. So it went up once, which is nice. So I'll do a repeat in indefinite. And direction, I'll alternate it. Okay. So I start to have a bouncing if you have other ideas also for content, I just come with whatever is in my mind. It's probably inappropriate also. So you have an example of an animation of an object in 3D, but so for example, now you don't really see that it's 3D. So I'll add another animation to rotate it, for example. So I'm a little bit lazy, I'll just copy paste, and I'll change the rotation, and I'll go from no rotation to 0, 360, 360. So it's in degrees, not in radian. Well, that's some of you will love it because you're more used to it. Some of you will say this is absolutely not how 3D works, but it's a little bit fast. So the duration, I'll put, I don't know, 20 seconds. So that's in milliseconds. So I need to put 10,000. Let's see if that's a little bit smoother. That's cool, right? Voilà. So you start to have your object with a position animated with a certain duration. So that's one of the reason I like A-frame. And that's why I use it is, so two things. One, this entity component system. So as a reminder, a entity, the box is like a specific entity. A sky is a specific entity. So you have the abstract entity, and then you specify it more and more. And then the component, so for example, the scale, the position, the color, all this. And then you're like, okay, but that's nice, but once I've done my little flag and I rotate in space and whatnot, that's very limited. So you need to think of it really as a design pattern, meaning you want to design your own entity, you can do that. You want to design your own component, you can do that. So for example, if, I don't know, I want to define a component that's bounce, instead of animation, for example, then I could define, it's not going to work here, but I could define here a bounce attribute. And then I would have to code it, which takes a bit of work, which brings me, because I'm lazy, like, yeah, that happens, but it means I like to also rely on the community. So it means one of the second thing that I really like about A-frame is the community. When I started to explore it in January, it was slow. It was very limited, and there were, I don't know, I don't want to say something too silly, but let's say 100 people using it, or at least, no, playing with it, discovering it, but I would say less than 100. And since then, if you check on the A-Frame Slack channel, I think there are about 2,500 people, more or less, which is nice. So I'll put, well, you should just search for Slack A-Frame, you'll find it, so I don't need to put it in the Slack. But, and more importantly, there is a community building component. So for example, I don't think there is a bounce component, but okay, I'll quickly check another one. What could be useful in that case? Okay, I'll put a bit of text because, for example, in the A-Frame really is the core library with only the minimum set of components, and then you have third-party made components. So what you or me or a third person will do to improve it. So I'll search A-Frame text component. So I just go on Google, and then I find this example that I will share on the Slack again. Okay. So you go on A-Frame and you're like, whoa, that's annoying. I want to put Vive la France on my presentation so that people who are not familiar with the flag would get it, for example. So you go on this, you search on Google A-Frame text component, and then you find what other people from the community have made. So what you do is then you search on it, what's the address of the component, then you copy paste it because it's just a URL. So I just added it now, which changed nothing. So for example, if you were to add now, if I try to add a text, and I say Vive la France, okay, nothing happens because there is no component text. So what I do when I search and I found it, I found that there is a specific component called BM font text. So I will just replace this by the abstract entity and BM font text with the value. Voilà. No. Little typo. So nothing happens. Usually, when that it's either your own, it's usually your own fault, but it can be a bug or it can be a syntax. So, for example, here the syntax of the component is to specify really what the text is. So I change it, and I still don't see it. So I look around. Maybe the default position is on the camera. So I'll try to move it around a bit. Voila. So you can see it's a little bit tiny. I'll change also the color. I'll bring it closer. Okay, now we're getting there. So why do I insist really with component is because A-Frame is in the end it's just an alternative way to it's how do you say custom elements in HTML. Like one of the property of HTML is that you can define your own elements. So that's why you have the entity, a box, and everything, specialized for 3D and VR. And that is a system. So it means, for example, this component here was created by somebody else. So what I can do now is I can also make my own components. So I'll start a script. Actually, before that, I'll show you something else. Well, no, I'll register my own component first. So the syntax is a little bit specific. I'll try to see, but I don't usually remember that part. So A-frame dot register component, and then I give it a name. So for example, I'll call it WebVR NYC workshop. And then I need to declare what it does, which will be a function. And then the first thing a component needs to do after registering itself is to initialize itself. So I'll do an init function. And what it will do, well, it will take the current element, and then it will change its size, its scale, let's say, and it will double it. Okay. So now it has no impact because I registered the component. I also store the console because I bet somehow I did like a syntactic error, but I don't know. I'm trying anyway with that. Yes, I made a mistake somewhere. So yeah, one of the way also, if you don't see why something is not working because it's WebVR, you did it in the browser, meaning the console is your friend. If you can't spot, you need to pop out the console and see if there is any mistake. So, little reminder again. This is what you're supposed to have, meaning your 3D, your WebVR part, the code, and now the console. So I can see here syntax error, function statement require name. So let's see what that is exactly. So yeah, I admit what I never do this kind of project in the sense that I never start from nothing. I never start up from an empty page. I just do it for you today to show you that it's extremely easy to kickstart a project, that there is nothing magical behind it. But usually when I work on a project, I'll take the past project that I worked on, which is the closest, to really go as fast as possible. Eventually I'll delete or add the parts that are missing. But I mean, you work whichever way you prefer. My preferred solution is really to reuse as much of previous work as possible. So I have like a little portfolio of previous projects and I reuse those. So, but like me now, sometimes you'll be a bit confused with the syntax, you won't remember perfectly. So the A-frame documentation is really well done. Even the search is well done. And so I go in the A-frame documentation, components, and I think at the bottom there is like write a component, perfect. And then yes, well, it looks pretty close to what I did, but I'll just swap those. So I have my and then I was saying, I guess I don't have to name those functions, but and then yeah. And I can remove all this. Let's see what the console says. I'm pretty sure I need to call it function. Okay, no error. So now let's see if, for example, so I take my newly created component and I'll add it to the text. And that's it. The text is now twice bigger. So that's not very sexy in the sense that there is already a component called scale. So I could actually rename this WebVR NYC workshop as scale. But we can do other things. We can do nicer things. It's just an example to say, hey, as you can see in the init function now, well, first it's JavaScript. It's not just custom elements anymore. It's not just like pseudo HTML, but it means you can use all the cool JavaScript libraries, and as you know, there are really a lot. Like that's pretty much the sexy thing at the moment. Cool JavaScript libraries. So you will be able to reuse all those and to make your own. So for example, a little thing I did a month ago, more or less, was to use the Anyang library. I don't know if some of you have used it before, but it's you can do a voice command. So for example, I did a little A-frame component, which I called, I think, voice command WebVR or something like this. And instead of having the flag moving up and down, once I added the voice command component to it, for example, A entity, ID, my flag, voice command, and then I closed the whole thing. And I said, and then the flag was moving up and then left, and it was moving left and then backward, it was going down. So the name of that component, well, you can check, I'll give my GitHub also eventually. Let me check quickly now. Speech controls, A-frame speech controls component. So I'll put it in the Slack now. Hold on. So you could basically, assuming your browser has speech recognition, you could use it to give it commands. And I have a little video that you can watch there that gives an example. So yeah, that's really the to me, that's why I do A-frame now, is because, well, number one, it works. So like you can see the little content I've done here, it's very simple, it's very few lines, the component is extra, but it lets you bind with JavaScript. And the community is going really fast. Like I said, 2,500 people now, I think, on the Slack, and people writing components left and right, some, yeah, really in every direction. So one of them, for example, is the physics component. So if you had a floor and if you had a ball, you can drop the ball and the ball is going to roll. All that in JavaScript, so you need an okay CPU to run it. But yeah, let me add it because it's really, well, you have also Firebase, so you can do like live multiplayer. I'll link all those now because I believe there are A-frame physics. That's in the because if I just show you how to add text, it's nice, but it's a little bit boring. Like you want it 3D. What you can do is I'll show my favorite one. So it's using, of course, other library for this. So for the physics one, I think it's using Canon.js. But don't quote me. Yeah, it is using Canon.js. Meaning also the good part and the bad part of Canon will be, you will have those. So here I gave the address of the component. So I'll do exactly like I did before, meaning I copy paste the address of the component. That's it. Now I have a physics system added to the demo, which is nice, but you don't actually see the impact. So I'll use the example because that's faster. And now nothing. What's happening? So I added the library. Well, I'll do. If I don't find the solution in the next 2 minutes, I'll do the. Oh no, I didn't declare physics in my scene. So okay, that's also an important thing. You have components. The scene itself is not a magical entity. So you can have components at the entity level, and then you can have components at the whole scene level. So yeah, that's a bit far, but if you look at the bottom, like under your feet, let's say, you will see that there is a cube falling to infinity. Hopla. I don't know if you guys can see it. The red lines are from the debug mode of the physics system. I'll put those higher. That might be. Yeah, okay. That's not actually that. I thought the examples for the physics systems were a bit faster, but no, so I'll have to fix that. So I'll put a plane and I'll put a scale of 10 by 10 and a height of 1, and I'll position it under us. So I'll put that 0, -1, 0, and I'll put a color of, because let's say everything is good, so it's a blue sky and a green grass floor. So let's look down. Must have made a mistake. Ah, yes, I need to rotate, I think, my time. So I'll do a rotation, and I think it's, so you'll, even after months and months of doing it, okay, so now I have my plane. So the cube is falling, but, and also, so yeah, the coordinate system and the rotation, I just play left and right until I get it right. It's not very serious, let's say, but it ends up working, as you can see, kind of. So now I'm in my plane. I have the debug option that shows that there is some, it's taken account by the physics system. And then this box that has a dynamic body, I'll drop it from the sky. So I'll drop it at 2, and I'll put it a bit further so that you can see without having to move the camera. So I think if I put -3, and I'll put it a bit closer to us, 3. Yeah, there you go. So as you can see on the right, I'll also move the immovable box because we don't really care about that. And now that I know it works, I can remove the debug option. And that's it. You can see that I have an object on the right, close to the Vive la France part, so I can change the shape, of course. I will make it, I don't know, a bit wider. And that's it. So that was another, 3 lines, like one component to edit the physics system, one component to import it, of course, and I have a little demo with a flag, with some text, and with an actual physics system. So, for example, if you bind the camera to a physics object, then you will be able to move around, use the control, and just like kick literally the box. So again, that's very easy to do, and it's I mean, it's already a lot of fun. Like you can, one of the demo I did also, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, is you take the HTC Vive, you take 2 controllers for your hands, and you take 2 other controllers for the feet. And then you put the controllers on your feet, and you can grab the ball literally, and then kick it, just like a normal soccer game. And all that in VR and in WebVR, all on the web. So I was able to do it and then instantly share it to whomever was interested in it, without them having to install anything, just like go on the demo. So yeah, I think that's, yeah, there is so much more, but I think that's an introduction that covers a bit everything, in the sense that you have components loaded from other users, you have your own components, you have some entity with a different shapes and colors, and then you have, for example, the physics system. So I think at that point it could be good to answer some of your questions about it, what made sense, what doesn't, I don't know, whatever you guys have in mind. Well, I can keep on going, but I think it's better if you should just tell me what you like to know. So the first question from Don was, how do you create new navigation for the user controlling the camera? So I assume by that you mean basically how can you literally walk around, or how can you jump, or how can you control the camera? Is that right? Yeah, no, yeah. Okay. So what happens first? Yes. So I'll just repeat the question, but yeah, you can add it directly on the chat, the general chat, or on the Slack as you want. But yeah, it's how to control the camera. So I'm going to be a bit boring by repeating myself always the same thing. It's basically, it's only adding component. So I will add it. One thing there are three, let me think for a second. There are at least three things that when you create the scene are added for free, which is the camera, because that's how you get your point of view to see the VR content. The light, actually two lights. One ambient light and one like more directed light. The idea is that you will always need some light and a camera. If you don't have this, then you're doing something really, really, let's say, unique or specific, but it's probably wrong. So what iFrame does is, by default, it injects a camera and lights. But it injects them. But what I'll do, I'll add the camera. So, like I say, it is like an Italian. So it is a camera. So I add my camera. I close it. Let's see. Now you see already the point of view from the start. It's not. I think it is actually basically the same, but doesn't matter. So I have my camera that I explicitly defined, and now I can use, just like everything else, the position, and I'll add a position of so 0, 0, and let's say 2. No, but that's a bit boring, so I'll put camera position initially of 1 a bit higher and 1 a bit of the left. I'll put it like back 3. So that change, I'm not sure if I'll just put it like way further just to double check. No. Well, that's a bit strange. Spot the mistake. Do you see what's happening? Why can't I move it? Okay. Does anybody see what could be wrong? Because my point is that the camera is like just an entity like the others. So you can animate the camera, and you can also define a component for the camera. So one of those components, I think it's also made by the community. It's called A-frame extras, and in it, I'll put the link also in the chat and just like searching for it. In it, you have the universal control, which is probably what most of you will want. So, for example, for your question, Don, in universal control, it really tries to be as universal as possible. So I'll add it.
Like half the size?
Maybe, yeah. So now I replaced, like I said, the default injected camera by my own camera, and now I have this universal control. So if I load it again in the, well, like quick reminder, by the way, everything you do in VR had to be tested on the actual VR devices. If you don't test on the VR device, so for example your phone, then you're not really doing VR, you're doing 3D. Why do I insist on this? Because a lot of stuff we do looks nice on the screen and can be completely off when we try actually in VR, like notions of scales, of distance, of position. So you really need to, as often as you can, try. So I added the universal extra component. Now, can I test it? So what has been done now, if you go again on the demo, is like here, I press on my keys and I can move the camera around because I added this universal control. So this component allows you to do that, and why it's called universal is because now, if I load again that demo on the phone, so you have the link out for the demo directly. It's the one that goes with the outputs. And if you touch your screen, like a tap event, then you'll be able to move around. So it means if I tap the screen, I don't have another phone, but if I tap the screen, then I'll go straight forward. And that doesn't sound so exciting, but if you have a cardboard, and you press that little button, the conductive tape that goes all the way through, it's equivalent to touching the screen. So if I'm in VR and I press that button, then I'll start to walk around. And what does it mean when I say walk around? It's exactly what this component does. It's like I control the camera and just change the position on every tick, which is like I'm in that direction and I increase with every on every frame. Does that answer your question, Don? No problem, my pleasure. There are also other modes of moving around. So you have the teleport component. So for example, you'll define hotspots on the scene, and then when you look at them, you can click, and then you'll jump there, you'll teleport there. To be honest, my position is locomotion in VR is still very much an open question. So so there is this one is called universal control, which is nice, but it's a little bit. So Don McCarty will arrive also today in Hawaii, so I'll be able to chat with him or to tell him that universal control is a nice goal, but it's a little bit bullshit because we don't know how to control ourselves, how to use locomotion in VR. So it's nice, but how to best control the camera? Basically the rule, as far as from my experience, is like don't just like if you don't block the orientation of the camera, then anything goes. You can make people teleport around, you can make people slide around, you can do point of interest locomotion, you can like just click, you can use if you have a Vive the trackpad. If you use the Daydream controller, you can use like that to point and click. It's, in my opinion, it's still an open problem. So, do you have another question? Maybe everything is super clear and you're good to go. I'm still learning, so I try to answer questions, but no, all good.
I think folks are just thinking about it. At least a couple of us
Yeah, okay.
are dialed in.
So I can until to give you time, to give you guys a bit of time to think. I can tell you what my motivation for VR is. So I do VR because I have a bunch of ideas. So I have just a second. I'll show you. I have like I get a lot of you guys. I have my a little notepad. That's a gift from my sister. So she believes in me so much that she offered me the planner only for revolutionary projects. Well, I don't know if those are like super revolutionary, but it's a bunch of ideas, and some of them are good. Most of them are bad, but I do hope some of them are good. So the problem is it's very intangible, and I started to have like piles and piles and piles of ideas. So what I started to do about 10 years ago is a wiki where I put all my notes. So when I'm learning JavaScript, or when I'm learning about WebVR, or when I go to swim, or when I read books, I type all this in a wiki and I add all my notes and I link like one page to the next, like how does JavaScript relate to other languages? How does that relate to natural languages? How does that relate to machine learning? I don't know. All those kind of link and thoughts and questions. So I have this on a wiki with about 800 pages. And that's nice. That's better than a notebook, in my opinion, like a paper notebook. But it's very still abstract, intangible. So why I started to work on VR, so about 2 years ago, is because I want a version of this wiki to be more tangible. So what I do is like to have, let's say, this notepad, but all exploded, and then with each page, like displayed all around me. And so I have a few prototypes of this, so I can put all the content of my wiki all around me, and then I can grab a page and move it around and organize it in spatial relation to another page. So basically, my motivation to VR is how to organize my thoughts. That's what makes me spend so much time on it. It's like, how can I think better and hopefully help others also to think better, thanks to VR. So did that give you time for other questions? I saw something blinking, but...
There's a question actually in the chat. If you have a look.
Let me see. I only have the... can I see it? Because... okay, okay. So the output scene seems to be locked testing on desktop and mobile. So I'm not sure what you mean that is, because, for example, if can you still see my screen? I don't think so. If I click around, I can move, and if I move with the keys. Yes, sorry. Yes, the keys are not the arrows, but they are the WASD keys, like on a video game. Maybe, yeah, no, that wasn't clear. So you can, if you touch your screen, and if you use the WASD key, then you can move around. Is that fixing it? Oh. So I'll assume it works. Else you can also reload the page. Maybe sometimes like the connection got lost. Yeah, that is, just try refreshing. Okay, 2 of you. That's a bit strange. I'll also refresh, but works for me. Yeah? So it's the key usually used for maybe it's language dependent. Double check. but yeah, like I press there and then it moves here. Okay, and then yeah, it's working for some. So for those who it's not working, I don't know. Have you tried turning it off and on again? It should work. It should work. Else, ask me again after, and I'll double check. But I use this component quite often because it's pretty well done, and it works on pretty much every platform. So the universal title is still well deserved, in my opinion. So there was another question by Roland. Can you make an object act physical on click? I think so. I haven't actually tried. It made me think of a game. For example, I don't know if you tried Fantastic Contraption. I love that game. Like you build, you have a very simple goal, like to put a pink sphere in a pink goal. But it's based on like physics is off, and then you build your little contraption or your big contraption, and then you poof, click and activate the physics system. So I actually thought about it quite a bit, but I have never tried. So how can we do that? What we could do is I will try. I'm thinking what's the easiest way to do that. So I will remove the Okay, instead of being because I don't. I'll see. For example, I'll make the where is this? The WebVR NYC component. I'll put it instead. I'll delete it there from the text. I'll put it on the dynamic body box, and then I'll put the box a bit higher. So I'll put it at 5, let's say. It will give me a bit more time, so it takes it like 2 seconds to fall, more or less. Then I will. Then I think it's. I'll do the set attribute dynamic body. And I'll put it to false. Hopla. Can't type anymore. And okay, so it's not that. Because I'm not sure how dynamic the physics system is. Like, so I'll try this remove attribute. I had problem with it before. Oh, that's weird. It changed the color. How can I do this? Because actually, I don't know how to do it, but I thought about it before, so I actually would like to know. Well, stopping the whole physics system halfway through is also not so nice, but okay, let's try a set timeout, and then forgot. Say 2000. No, that's not going to work with this. You command that out. So, well, at least that gives me an excuse to to insist a bit on that bit. If you're not familiar with the DOM and how to make an HTML page, you will be forced through those functions to work with it. But it's pretty nice and worth it, because with this entity component system, you can add, remove, and update attributes on the fly. One way to do it also is to use, okay, there are two things, so that gives me at least an excuse for two things. I put here in the scene the debug component, and that allows you, if you now inspect the scene. So I'll show you, I inspect an element on the scene, and then what I will be able to see is actually, thanks to debug, I can see so why it's debug and it's not by default is you can see the DOM being updated live. So you can see the value. So for example, where is the position of the box? All this is updated non-stop. So if I don't put debug, I'll remove it again. And I'll refresh here just in case. So now you see the values are not updated live. You see, the flag is moving, but the value don't change. So if I add debug again, just to show you, and that's a little subtlety, but it has a lot of. It's important to get it, because you play with the DOM, but by default, updating all those values in real time, and that means like dozens of times per second is very costly. So if I check the number of, I'll put also this. So there's another option, which is the stats. So I'll have statistics. So it means now I have a little. Can you see? Can you see when I show the screen? Can you please confirm? I assume you do, but
yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So you see, thanks to the debug and stats, thanks to that, I was able to show you directly the value being updated, even if it's slow. But now I can show you with the stats component the number of frames per second. So if I remove debug, so now we're like at about 17, let's say. I remove debug. Well, okay, that's not a huge difference, but it's not a very powerful laptop, but it basically it makes a significant difference. Yes, because I don't also show the DOM. If I do display and show, so you have those little tools to show the number of frames per second, to show the texture, how much you consume in vertices. Like if you add a lot of meshes, so that's something also I did not show you, but you can take a mesh. Meaning you use Blender, you use Maya, you use whatever 3D editor you want, and then you import the mesh, and you have it in your scene. So now I just show you a very simple flag, a simple box, but if you want to replace the flag by okay, basketball is not that exciting because the geometry is very basic, but if you want to replace that by a dinosaur or an ostrich or whatever you want, you just take your 3D editor, export it as a JSON or as a Collada or as OBJ and MTL, and then you can import it. So I'll give an example. I'll import. Let me see if I have it, because it's very basic, but it's important that I add it, because else it looks very like primitive. Those are really just primitives. So I will, I'm a little bit self-centered, so I'll add a model of myself, basically. Let me see. So it's a Collada model. So I had it. I'll remove the animation. And then I'll take the address of the model, and in the source I replace. Oh. Hello. Computer is not happy. So is it visible anywhere? No, that's a mistake. The more I start to go on those tangents, and the more I like so many things to show you stuff. So one thing, hold on, computer is really unhappy. I'll close Slack for now. Right. So yeah, you can import your meshes. It's very simple because what's happening? You can import your textures. You can import your meshes with the texture on them. You can import the meshes with the texture and with the animation. You can import the mesh with the texture and the animation and the bones. So you can actually do some skins and bones. So that's if you're not very familiar with a 3D editor like Blender, then it's really worth it, or at least to be able to toy with it. You don't have to be able to, in my opinion, you shouldn't have to be able to make something beautiful with Blender, with a 3D editor, but at least to fix some meshes and to be able to import and export them works well. Yeah, I mean, this is important. So something else, when you will, so I will remove the stats because that takes a bit of screen real estate. I'll remove debug because that costs a bit of performance. And so when I do, I'll see if I can display the screen because that helps me. Yeah, okay. One thing I do when I organize workshop is I make people play with the shapes and the position objects in space. And I usually trick them by saying, oh, I put a box somewhere and somehow they can't find it because I put them in the back. So it's like minus, so it's a 5, like 005, for example. Most people can't find it. And they search for 5 minutes, like, oh, finally, it's behind me. So when you will play with this, the problem is at some point you want like a very precise position. But since July or since August, there is the A-frame inspector, which is dedicated for 3D. So let me see if I can do this while I hold the screen. So I think it's Control-Alt-I. Yes. So if you press Control-Alt-I, you get this. So can you see? That's a 3D editor. So I can like click on the ground and I can move it up and I can move it down. And then I can change if it's visible or not. Then I can change the height or the width. And then I can rotate it a bit less or a bit more. I can like do it like this to tilt it a bit. Maybe the box will drop. When I'm happy with it, I'll just put like something more explicit. So the color is here. So I'll put it like say to red. And then I go back to my scene. And that's it. I change my scene without touching the code, just with visual editing. That's something, I mean, that's pretty nice. That's not enough. That's why when I do workshop, I still force people to code and be familiar with the coding system. But you have an editor, the inspector, directly built in the scene. Like I didn't install. Also, it's something I need to insist a bit on. I did this demo in front of you without installing anything. Like I opened the browser, I went on gsbin.com, with an empty page, didn't even register an account or anything. I started to include the A-frame library, and then I started to add more and more content till the point that I had something that kind of made sense. And then I used the inspector to position, nothing was installed. So like if I had now a laptop that somebody gave me without, like just with Firefox installed, nothing else, just internet and the browser, then I can make content for it without anything installed. And I can share it with you or with anybody on Earth, and I can use it under HTC Vive right away. I mean, that's why also I do WebVR and not native. It's the time to install, the time to try it. It's like just forget it. Just open the laptop, open your computer, try, build, iterate, share straight away. So that's my WebVR pitch. Okay, do you have any other question for the physics system to change live? I will have to check and come back to you, and I definitely will, because it's something I didn't have that I had on the back of my mind, because I think there is so much mileage you can get out of physics, because one of the key attributes of a good VR experience is how natural it is, how natural it feels. And physics straight away, it makes it feels like so much more real. And you can, yeah, if you want to do mini golf, if you want to do soccer, if you want to do racing game, whatever, physics really, or domino. I mean, there are so many things, so much mileage you can get out of it. But indeed, being able to control physics to the point of turning it on and off dynamically and on different objects, yeah, it's something good. You can add that. I'm like 99% sure you can add. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it can be added dynamically, because I tried to play with it a while ago and it did not. I don't think it works. But yeah, to explore. And again, if it doesn't, well, make your own physics component. Use CanonJS again, and just see how. I mean, it's nothing magical. Basically, you define a class on each object, or each entity rather, and then you can see if it's been added to the physics system or not. If it hasn't, you add it. If it's not and you want to remove it, you drop it from there. It's so easy to make your own component and share it back to the community that it's that the question of if the physics system right now allows for it is an important question, but if it doesn't mean it won't. It means it doesn't so far. You can, if you want it for your own specific experience, add it, share it back, and others will be grateful for you. So another question? Everybody's tired and want to eat. Let me see. So it wasn't a question, it was a remark from Hugh about the code to make sure to save it. I mean, you have the code already. Like with the link I gave you at the beginning,
yeah.
That's it.
Don't worry about it. No, I'll save it as a text thing too. I did
whatever you prefer, you can put it on GitHub or you can save it like this. But I mean, the code is there. People can. There is a little option on. Since I went there, I'll actually show you. I check the chat at the same time. I shouldn't do that. Yeah. So in the bottom right corner of the bin, you have this those options in the menu, and you can click on clone. So basically, if right now I click on clone, so I'll do it just for the demo, and then I have a new address, and then I have the same code and things, and now I will change it. I'll change the flag, for example, to the Italian flag by as an homage, which you should be able to do in a few seconds. I just change that color. And now I have my Italian flag. So, but you normally on Slack or on WebEx, you still have the French flag. Because I cloned this version is my own copy. You have the old one. So what I mean by that is not only is the code online and working on all WebVR enabled hardware right now, but it's also possible to clone it, and you can use that as a basis to make your own content. You don't have to ask permission on anything. You just like go on the bottom right, Beninfo, clone, and that's it. You work on that. That's your new basis to explore.
Excellent. Well, this has been about as long as we said we'd do it. Are there any other questions? Awesome. Okay. Well, listen, Fabien, thanks so much, man. Thanks for rushing out of the water.
My pleasure. No, it's good. Else I would have stayed longer, and that's not healthy. No,
this is, yeah, that's right. That's right. This is fantastic. So I'm going to convert it into something and post it between now and the weekend, and I'll send you a link to it. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Well, my pleasure. Really, guys, if you have other questions, ask, and I'll try to find a solution, a way, something. Maybe not during the next few minutes, because I'll need to shower, eat, and all this, but in the next few days for sure. And if you have ideas, and I'd love to see what you guys will build during the next few days. So yeah, ask questions, show me. I'm curious.
Fantastic. I'll keep you in the loop, man. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. You're getting a lot of texts.